By difference with other Flask tutorials to get started with Flask, this example uses Twilio's Programmable SMS API. So I wanted to show like a quick start for Flask, and also like using a product that I work with. I'm not an expert in Flask or Python, so if there's anyone in the audience that has some contribution, or if there's a question I don't know, I will be more than happy to hear your input. So the first thing we're going to do is test the app. So unfortunately, Twilio doesn't have Irish numbers with SMS capabilities. So if you can send an SMS to my Twilio number from the UK, you will be able to test my app. So please send some messages and let me know if you get an answer. I hope you will. You can say anything, or you can say the word yes or the word no. If you say the word yes, you will hopefully get a nice phrase, some food for thought. If you say no, you're boring. And if you say something else, it will ask you to say yes or no. I'll share one that I got just before starting the talk. So I said yes, and I got, here's a thoughtful phrase: to be wrong is nothing unless you continue to remember it. Confucius. So, anyone would like to share a phrase? No. Okay. So in case something didn't work, or I just had a screenshot of my phone from another occasion. So if you say any word, it will say, please say yes or no. If you say no, it says, oh, you say no. If you say yes, it gives you a phrase. So that's the app using SMS with a Twilio number. And as you will see, the code, the app is very simple. So to build this project, what you need is a Twilio account, Python, Flask, and the request library. So how does the app work? You have your phone number. You send an SMS to my Twilio number. Then Twilio will make a request to my app. So I put my URL in the Twilio console. So when the SMS comes to my Twilio number, Twilio will make a request to my app. And my app will return to Twilio an instruction of what to do with the flow of the app. And then Twilio will put the message back in the telephone network, and that will respond to you, to your mobile. So the things that we're going to visit here is what's the Flask app doing, and also how to respond to Twilio. So basically, I Googled I Googled an API for phrases, and I found this one easy to use. So if you want to create a project similar to this, you can Google an API for something like anything you're interested. I wanted to have some inspiring phrases sometimes. So I Googled, phrases API. And this, the page of the API tells you how to use the API. Here is some APIs are a bit cryptic, so for me it took me a while to understand what you need to do. Basically, it's telling you how to make a request to the API to obtain what you want. So here it says, make a post with these parameters, and then you will get in response the phrase. So I will come back to this later. So what is Flask? Flask is a web development framework in Python. It's easy to get started with. It's, by contrast with Django, it doesn't provide any structure out of the box. You require very few lines of code to get started, and you can have your web app in a few lines. As I said at the beginning, a lot of examples are for blogs, for creating a database, for creating a website. So this example is a bit different. It's using an API, and it's using Twilio's Programmable SMS API. So what's the hello world example for Flask? It's only this. So you create an endpoint with this decorator that once a user visits the endpoint, it will execute this function and return in the browser or wherever the hello world. This is like the most basic example. So how do you run this app? You can create a virtual environment, install Flask, and then save this file into a Python file and run it. So this is the steps to do it. And then you execute Python 3, hello Flask, and then you will obtain this. So once you have this, you have a web server on your local environment. And if you navigate to localhost 5000, you will see hello world. What happens here? You find nothing. Why? Because the endpoint that we coded is hello endpoint, not just localhost. So if you navigate to localhost 5000, you won't get anything. But if you go to /hello endpoint, you get hello world. That's exactly what the decorator is doing, creating this endpoint. I didn't create anything for the localhost /. That will be very useful for the SMS app. So once you navigate from your browser, you get like a debugger information here. First, I navigated to localhost 5000, and we didn't get anything. And then in the end, we got to 200 OK with hello endpoint. So for the programmable SMS API, I was using this API with phrases. And how do you manage this from Python? You can use the requests library, which is really nice. It's very intuitive. So the way this works is, so this is like basic HTTP. You have a client and a server. The client makes a request to the server. The server listens to the client's request and responds. And we are going to use the Python request library for this. The client can send get, post, other verbs too. In our case, we're going to use get and post. And the response includes a body and a status code. This can be done from when you visit a website from your browser, or you can do it with the request library. So coming back to the API for the phrases, it's explaining you how to make a request to it and obtain the phrase. So we want to do this with the request library. You can also do it from the browser. If you navigate to this URL, you will make a GET request to this, and you obtain the output. So how do you do this with the request library? Well, you pass the parameters as a payload, specifying the keys and the values. This is taken from the Forismatic API documentation, which is that page we saw before. And then with manipulating the output with like a JSON file, we obtain the quote of the text and then the author. So when you execute this file in your terminal, you obtain a phrase, period, the author. Simple, right? And now is where Twilio comes in. So you install the Twilio's helper library for Python that helps you to connect. When a message comes in, Twilio will make a request to my URL, and in the response, it will expect Twiml, which is Twilio's XML language. And you can do this in many languages. For Python, we have a helper library. And basically, what this is doing is similar to the hello world example. We create an endpoint /SMS, and we execute this function, which creates a response. When a message comes in, it will respond to any incoming message with "the robots are coming, head for the hills." So this is not the app that we have running. This is another example that will respond regardless of what the incoming message says. It will respond with the same message. But the example that we have is more dynamic. It responds depending on what the user sends. So this is the code for the app that we tested with the SMS. So I'll just run it through very quickly. So first, we included the requests way to make a request to the API that obtains a phrase. This is an iterative process. With 2 or 3 times, you will get here how to do this right and obtain exactly what you want, which is the phrase and the author, or maybe you can cross the author and just have the phrase. If you make the entire request the way they say it in the website, you obtain this JSON file. So basically, you have to get the quote text, the value of the quote text, and then the quote author. We can ignore the sender name and the quote link. So with the request library, we get everything, and then we just keep this. So this is what we're going to use in the response to the incoming message with Twilio. So here's the same piece of code. We first make the request, and we capture the response in this variable called quote, and we prepare the quote and the author. So how do you need to make an if clause depending on what the user sends to our app. So if the body of the incoming message is yes, we will respond with here's a thoughtful phrase plus the quote. If the message coming to my Twilio number, if the body is no, we'll just say, oh, you said no. And if it's anything else, we'll just say, I'd appreciate a yes or a no. So actually, we don't really need to have a Twilio account and a Twilio number just to play with this. We can do everything from the browser. If you run this app locally, and then you navigate to localhost 5000/SMS, and you pass the body parameter with no, you can also test the app. It's just the same. You can introduce the SMS if you put it in the Twilio console. So I'm just showing you that this code will make a request to the endpoint SMS, and depending on whether there's an incoming parameter body with the value yes or no or anything else, you can respond to it. So here's just the 3 examples. So there's one step else that we need for the app, is that this is running in your local environment. This is what Flask is providing. But then if you want Twilio to be able to access your app, or if you want to just to use this as a web app with like such as this, then you need to make this available in the public internet so that Twilio can request it or anyone else can request it. So we use ngrok. Ngrok is really cool for testing, but I think it's also good for like proper production environments. If you sign up for a proper account in ngrok, you can really work with it. this is basically what you obtain when you open a tunnel with 5,000, listening 5,000, and it gives you this URL. And then you can put this in the Twilio console/SMS to, so that when a message comes in, Twilio will request that publicly available URL, and then that will request our app running here, and it will respond. So to do so, you navigate to your Twilio console. You navigate to your number. In this case, this is my number, the number we messaged before at the beginning. And then when a message comes in, you put the URL for Twilio to request. There are other options you can do, you can use. You can have other products from Twilio. In this case, we're just using a webhook. And this will make a post to our URL. And we are serving that request the way we showed here. And that's all. Thank you.